Upper cross syndrome is a huge problem that a lot of people have from working in our modern environment. So computers really accentuate this problem. So imagine you're sitting at your desk and you're not sitting in perfect posture. Your pelvis is flexed back a little bit. So instead of having a nice curve in your low back, it's rounded a bit back like this. So now that increases the curve in your upper back and that flexes you forward a little bit. So now you've got to look at your screen. So then your head tilts up just a little bit like that and the muscles of your neck tend to tense. So if this looks anything familiar, then you might have upper cross syndrome. So what this creates is a tension in your upper trap. So everybody says, oh, my spot right here. So levator scapula, upper trapezius, these muscles that attach your head to your shoulders, those tend to tense, as well as SCM. So if we flexate and bring them forward here, that muscle in front, that one right there, tends to tighten up. And when our head protracts forward, then that creates a shortening, a chronic shortening of that muscle, so then it stays shortened. So those muscles, as well as pec, you can see as his shoulders are rounded forward and pulled down, those muscles being shortened over a long period of time, that if you don't stretch them, if you don't do the opposite, then that creates more tension in those muscles, and they just want to stay flexed, especially if you're working for long periods of time without moving. So those muscles are tense. The weak muscles, I don't want you to sit like that too long. The weak muscles are in your mid-back here, all the way in the mid-back down to your kind of upper lower back, as well as some of the shoulder muscles in here. Those are weak, and that's what allows the spine to flex forward and the shoulders to round forward instead of keeping them down and back like this. When we're assessing upper cross syndrome, it's usually pretty easy because the patient comes in and they're already in a flexed posture, heads tilted down, they're kind of protracted, but that can happen to various degrees. And so we will watch how you sit, how you stand, how you get up from a seated position. We will take you through range of motion, so we'll go through the cardinal plane, so all the way forward, all the way back as far as you can, back to neutral, twisting each direction just like this as far as you can, then laterally flexing to each side. So all of those give us a rough idea. We also check shoulder range of motion. So we take you through the range of motion here. So all the way up overhead, good, then back behind you, and then hug yourself. So we're just looking generally, how do things move? Yep, just like this, externally rotating. So now we've checked the head and shoulders. Now we have to check the thoracic spine. So we'd have you extend up and lift your sternum as high as you can, and then now slouch into the worst possible posture. Worst, worst, worst. Down, 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 down. Perfect. Good. And back to neutral. So that's just some of the basic ranges of motion that we'll check. And if any of these are deficient, then we figure out why. And then start to get a tally of what's tight, what's weak, and with that, as well as some neurological testing, we figure out what's our game plan. So once we have a full assessment, we can give you a clear diagnosis and treatment plan based on what symptoms you're presenting with. So if you've got upper trap or levator scap tension, what we'll do is get right on those muscles and either trigger point, so press right in and press depending on how much pressure you need to get the fastest results. Sometimes do active release technique where we create tension on that and we stretch you down gently, gently. Yep, just like that. Come on back. Same thing where we press here and down and to your left. Perfect. So stuff like that. Sometimes both sides equal on each side of the spine here where we press in like this and flex you down. So that type of stuff to really loosen up these muscles. With SCM, it's a little bit hard. Your sternocleidomastoid, that's a muscle in the front of your neck. The throat's right there, so we got to be really careful of how we treat that. We usually just do trigger point kind of squeezing techniques for that. And then loosen up the pec, the chest muscles to make it easier to hold this position. So if all of these are loose, then these muscles in your back have to work less hard to maintain this position. one of the biggest things in upper cross syndrome is just actually your pelvic position in your low back. That if I can get your pelvis in the right position, that solves a lot of problems. So notice as he tilts, go ahead and slouch into bad posture here. Notice if he's just tilting his pelvis back, now he rounds in his spine, everything flexes forward. And if all we do is increase his extension of his low back, so kind of anteriorly pelvic tilt his pelvis, then that creates a normal curve in his back, a normal curve here, and he can sit in a much better position, much more lined up. If you'd like help getting and staying out of pain from upper cross syndrome, please give us a call or request an appointment online.